CareFinder is a real estate company that focuses on property development within the Gambia. We pride ourselves with providing not just quality and durable houses, but also state-of-the-art designs tailored to our clients' tastes and expectations. Our unique experience and expertise is second to none in the industry. We are currently building and selling 3-bedroom bungalows at Sukuta Traffic Lights and Jabang. We're also building and selling 3-bedroom story buildings at Sukuta Paradise. Other sites are also in the pipeline. With CareFinder, payment options are available. With just 40% deposit, you can get your house started. For more information, contact us on 329-5188, 727-0049, 709-8418. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram at CareFinder. With CareFinder, you are assured of a secure investment.
assalamu alaikum baɗigol ngali konton kale bisimilla ko reke moɓe kerfatu jube ka ñinte menna mbiye molɓe bisimilla la alladi grand bantaba programme o min kanale arjuma ni wato sita bafala moɓe ko ala baraka bake alkañum programme o noma ñamen nin arjumo sita donc molmi alon ko walle ka si kala moy ko sam gambe bantala ani gambia banko kan jang bafala moɓe ko ala baraka bake alkamol noma ñamen alkana ñina fanan ka subscribe na YouTube channel wala min kera Kerfato Media ti mbafula mobe ko thank you so much mo jamal mi alan ko le subscribe tamil man subscribe from mbafale ko alfananta ale subscribe na YouTube channel wala wobe mako ela bakele na dokol to mi alan ko be wole kakan na sponsor dunge tenduke je bake mi le ñim programme o face à ka sangen ba fale ko ala baraka bake mom mo lafta korda sanna don sa molbe nyaatilen damen golem CareFinder molbe ya lonne ila lanno mi alon ko wala soro Gambia banko kan jang e ka korda lorim bandengol wafile Gambia banko kan jang ni lafta ala ila ker siri solatina ya lo brufut mi alon ko be korda nyen sanna don yela korda chabo dila nin kene ken sama fanan be bulu mi alon ko lafta ka lo isitano CareFinder e ka o fanan kalenne kene ken sama ba lolale watu la mi alon ko te lafta wala yela korda chabo dila wala ni lafta korda la location dolto mi alon ko te lafta wala don ya kenol so le mi alon ko be wafi kan ni lafta fanan ni asan don itol fon be loro kelele je itol ka nyimbe ke Gambia banko kan jam woto mobe si bor yeta CareFinder yeta kordal sanje walla eta kene ken sangol sanje walla eta loro ke je ila no be tarabari kan screen o nyin dumale nga LG fanantendu ke je baake anin suñu ker LG ba fale ko thank you so much kanyim programme face à ka sembentu andi anin suñu ker ñilmu kundal lete milia lon koy bebe MFH groupe le koto bari la bagaso la kende a Gambia banko kan jang mol manjo so wala tinna mo be kata tabirla jorangol sayto lebulu mol be kata penturol sayto lebulu mol be kata television gol sayto lebulu ñin jaman laban bagasol mi alon ko niake la bunkono donc mo jamal si ñaboy la surtout ala ñiñala kelanta la ñiñala mi alon ko le bal oto mobe sitaje be ñim bagasol sangila kundal be fata fatari Gambia banko kan jan taring oto momo lafta drong esi tanoje be tentula ke je baake ka ñim programme o face à ka sembentu yende oto mbafala mobe ko mutanale ne koteke anin arjuma kotenna anin the grand bantaba kotenna last week nala kilo ba kan non the minister of higher education research science and technology ngati le soto non jang of course Per Gomez Bafra, thank you so much for coming. But be fananga luntam bale soto ale jang mi alonko Gambia din jamal be lafrin dum pour ay diamu Gambiano le pour ay fen jamal bondi ñoto ñaata demanding albaji la jumale ñen luntam wate bari fos Nene, welcome back to another Grand Bantaba, another Friday.
Indeed. Another Grand Friday, another grand show, and another super huge guest.
Yeah, super huge guest.
Super huge, yeah. It's not super, it's a super huge guest.
Yes, definitely.
Anyway, di la nuyu bu baax di la jaajëfal rek beneen yoon. Di nuyu ñëpp ñi nga xam ne ñoo ñuy seetaan saa yu nekk di leen jaajëfal di am kontaan ak mbégte gu mag. ci seen time bi ngeen di jël di toog saa yu nekk di ñu déglu. di yaakaar ne dinañ leen indil loo xam ne moo leen di indil jëm kanam yokkute ak leeral. moo ñu fi tax a taaj du ay wax rek. di jaajëfal di masawu namoo mi nga xam ne yaram dafa xaw a taw a tey waaw he is under the weather today.
Yes, definitely.
So sending him lots of love di ko wish a speedy recovery. Suñ Korean bi la xawma Taiwanese bi la xawma Japanese bi la whichever it is. I thought when you travel to those countries and you come with good manners.
Exactly.
You'll
be motivated.
Exactly. To do more. Yes. But then you travel to those countries that there is system, there is structure, there is discipline, and then you come with a totally different attitude. It's rather unfortunate. I'm sure ne dina ex xam nga mbiram rek semestre la xam naa Brikama ñu ngi ko defara welcome moo tax it munta bàyyi mu ñëw waaye
bàyyo canal leet lépp ñu programme
dañ ko nekk di defar welcome Brikama moo tax it su paree rek dina jël time mu ñëw
bàyyi dem na South Korea mu leet am naa su demee America dama xaar every one
welcome bi la man dama ko jëlal exi welcome bi la Brikama kool ika lintongo naka ñu fe
ika luntongo buñaale
say ibe buñaaro la Brikama ebe naa la sañ waaye di gërëm borom kër gi tamit di ko jaajëfal ak ñëpp ñu ko liggéeyal ñi nga xam ne ñoo tax Kër Fatou mu doon lim doon ñi nga xam ne ñoo tax Kër Fatou li muy def muy koy def kon ñoom tamit am nañ ci solo so leen jaay fa ñoom ñëpp di nuyu suñu guest bi ni ko buuba waxee rek super huge guest guest boo xam ne xelam ak a màcc ci li muy def mu xam ko lool yàgg ci lool mun ko lool bugga ko lool te def fi loolu te turam kenn du ko laam-laamee kenn du ko jixat parce que daf ne fànga ci réew mi fii nii si sub-région bi ak the world at large li mag yi dee wax rek fu tane am wér gu yaram amu fa te ñëpp wér gu yaram la ñuy ñaan mboolem ci ku nekk loo nekk da ngaa ne yal na la yàlla may wér gu yaram parce que boo amee wér gu yaram rek mun a dem mun a dikk te mun a def kon yal na ñëpp seen yaram wér yal na ñëpp am tawfiix soo ñuy waxtaanee ci loo xam ne ci wàllum wér gu yaram la parce que ñëpp xam nañ ci Gambie bi suñ healthcare system bi nu mel ak fu mu toll ak li tax yu bari yi nga xam ne moo tax ba fi mu war a tolluwu fa soo baax na ñu ko waxtaanee di indi ay leeral ndax nit ñi ñaax nit ñi war a def ñi def li ñu war a def ba gis ne ñëpp gis nañ ci seen boppa kon di yaakaar ne waxtaan bi dina yaanja dinañ indi leeral yu bari dinañ waxtaanee yu bare yoo xam ne ñëpp ñu ngi koy woon bugg a xam daal waaw kon ma bàyyi la yow nga feeñal ges bi booba
thank you so much
sa liggéey la
thank you so much Nene ko Nene ya fa ñamen dong bi nga luntango minister of course am luntam balem nga fo programme wala dati dulale luntan lem ya lonko mo jamal laftale non pour ay diamu Gambia dingole ay findi well na hakilo bakan non komanto Dr. Adama Sallah a finditale non kata Freedom Radio dami alonko ay diamo dol keji ay tumirol do ta ka deng management ole ñaaton koltimi alonko wollebe doku wala the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital especially ila Deputy Chief of Medical Director Minkera Dr. Bouakar Diagne tumi of course tapaleani jenko dolu mi alonko ako woye woleke loptano nyindo Mr. Diagne fanan ketanu molti mi alonko a findira ka diamo ka jabiroke anata Dr. Sallah fanan tumi ko mole mi alonko abulata nepotism konole anin ku kotengol mi alonko ayake loptano nyindo ja keta nyo sabolti ni mofulol tema min keta miliyalon ke bebe nun dow kola damen golem addi Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital wolem lopitan bati mi alon ko wole be Banjul kabri o keta inata kiskisiro dati o dulato pour ka jeko mune ku keta je fango lopitano to nyim mo fulol tema walla mune mu fengoti mi alon ko wole keta je pour ka fintindi well kabrin kiskisiro keta report o finditale andung report o nying akamtale ko e ma samba public follow because nga kibaro min so nyandata la through the National Assembly jenna be fintila mol bulu ma report o nying sotono but then Dr. Sallah mol lafta interview la no bara ko foni kiskisiro banda kiskisiro dum akamtale ko sayang abandale report o nying finditale Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital bi atebala side of the story for kuwolu miya lonko ay walleje milbita kannun je atafe andu e mantra ta kannun ku wala tinna biinga nati proka kacha about loptan bala miya lonko wala be Banjul da miya lonko abe do ko la non wolto Dr. Sallah, welcome. Dila dalal on the Grand Bantaba.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. To start with, last time génnoon nga joxe interview with the Freedom of course radio interview bi demoon na viral bi nga génnee and you accused Dr. Jagne of a lot of things after the accusation there was an investigation the report began but first dama bëgg ñu start at what time nga start liggéey at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital?
Well, I came back effectively from Sweden in 1982. As the first Gambian pediatrician. So I effectively took over from the British. And I was there until early 85. But then I was not very happy with how things were going on. So I decided to leave and start my own clinic, the Lamtoro Medical Clinic at the time. It has gradually metamorphosed to become the Lamtoro Medical Center, which is now located in Kololi. Originally, we were in Banjul at Independence Drive. But I didn't leave the system completely because I continued to teach medical students at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. Incidentally, I was also the registrar of the Gambia Medical Dental Council, a position I held for a good 11 years. So basically, I'm the author of the Code of Conduct and Ethics of Doctors, and eventually also the author of the Anglophone version of the Code of Conduct and Ethics for the sub-region, for the ECOWAS sub-region, under the auspices of the West African Health Organization. So I continued to work. I was chairman from 2006 to 2009. Then I left, and then that was a transition period when the hospital was being transformed from a general hospital to a teaching hospital. As you know, we opened a medical school at that time, and the hospital had to be transformed to satisfy the requirements of a teaching hospital. So in 2017, I came back as chairman again until recently this year, and I left the position. And this time around, it's a transitional period from a teaching hospital to a postgraduate training center. I was part and parcel of initiating and commissioning the first ever Gambia postgraduate training program for doctors. As you may know, previously, to be specialist in any area of medicine, one had to go outside to do that, either in the sub-region or somewhere in Europe and America, and maybe lately also in Asia. So there was a dire need for our own postgraduate training program, which we started effectively about 3 years ago with the assistance of the World Bank. The World Bank is paying for the professors that we had to bring over from the sub-region and also from Europe, primarily UK, to come and help us establish and run the program. And it's still ongoing. So I'm happy to say that with the undergraduate training, we have trained over 300 Gambian doctors.
That's
previously, there was no training. Everybody had to go abroad. And for the postgraduate program, we have now trained, or we are training over 100 Gambian doctors, young doctors.
Interesting.
Some of them have actually become specialists in their own right. They're junior specialists, but they're heading towards their fellowship, most of them, and they will become full-fledged specialists within a short time. And a few of them have actually managed to climb the ladder to become fellows of the West African College of Physicians and Surgeons. You know, so in a nutshell, it's been my engagement with EFSTH.
Interesting. So this is
Interesting, huh?
yeah, very, very interesting and massive, definitely. But at what time Lingla appointed as the chairman, the board of chair?
As I said, I was board chair for 2 occasions. The first was...
You left on combat.
Yeah, well, yeah, I left during the Jammeh regime. I was board chairman from 2006 to 2009.
Yes.
And then 2017, when this new regime came, I became board chairman again. 2017 up to this year.
Up to this year. Yeah. So that means you know the hospital very well. So now you came up with revelations. You have a lot of people were like, okay, Dr. Sallah, one time like yekne, this was happening at the hospital. So what people are saying is it that it is the time hamgane you are not benefiting? That was the time that you come up with this revelation, or it started at the time that Lingawahe at Freedom Radio. What exactly happened?
Well, we can put it this way. During my first tenure of office, which is 2006 to 2009, things were running very smoothly. And there has not been any reason to suspect any widespread corruption or mismanagement of funds or any other vice. When we took over in 2017, things looked quite okay. The first CMD was Professor Nyan, who worked closely with the board, and by extension also the coordinator of the postgraduate program, Professor Kasama. And things were running quite smoothly until, let's put it this way, about a year ago, senior members of management started complaining about irregularities. From time to time, they will come up with one thing, and after some time, they'll come with another thing. Then in the end, you know, I had to confront the director, the admin director, together with my colleague, Prof. Kasama, to kind of catalog all the ills that were taking place in the hospital, which were not compatible with proper management. And then we asked him to write to the CMD and launch his complaints. And in my capacity as chairman, he would copy me. Then we were hoping that the CMD, after receiving such a letter, would at least bring it to the attention of the board. The board would review it, and then whatever necessary actions would be taken. But we waited for quite some time. The complaints kept on mounting, but no real action was taken from his side. So in the end, I had to go with the postgraduate coordinator physically to his office. We sat him down, and we informed him that there are many allegations, and they were serious. And we were expecting that he would follow the right channel, and eventually this will end up with the board. The board will review and make the appropriate decision.
If you say CMD, you mean Dr. Jan?
No, CMD is Al Jafari.
Al Jafari, okay.
Dr. Jan is deputy CMD. So when you say Dr. Jan is just one of those who were involved. There were a team of 5 who were involved in this corruption and mismanagement,
But
primarily.
But who was this person that laid the complaint or wrote to the CMD? Was it one person?
Well, he was supposed to write, but he didn't do it.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's the director of admin.
Okay,
Mr. Malangdong.
Okay, okay.
So when we sat him down, we asked him to catalog in our presence what the complaints were, and he was writing one after the other. At the end of it all, we had 12 major complaints from him. As in all institutions, it leaked that the board was trying to look into the mismanagement in the hospital, especially those involving corruption and mismanagement of funds. And when it leaked, it seemed as if the Pandora's box was open. Then all units, all departments started coming with complaints. And we start cataloging them. And by the time, I don't say finished, but after some time, after a couple of weeks, we had almost 35 major complaints, starting from 12 down to 35. And I thought this was getting to be very serious. And it primarily involved the most senior members of management, ranging from the Chief Medical Director, Dr. Al-Jafari, his deputy, Dr. Janj, the Director of Finance, Mr. Sise, the Operations Manager, Mr. Adama, and the Senior Procurement Officer, Nima Jata.
So apparently this was the top echelon, right?
Yes, these were
the decision makers.
Yes, these were the main decision makers.
Okay.
Of the
Basically the management.
Top management.
Yeah.
Top
Management, the very top management.
Yeah.
So, when this came to light, we were trying to confront them, at least for an explanation, but they didn't volunteer much. So in the end, we decided that we had to go further with this. So we decided that we will inform the powers that be, mainly those who put them in those positions, ranging from the minister himself, the Director of Health Services, and the PS. So we sought an appointment with the PS. We went to him, Dr. Ja, and explained to him all that we have detected, all the serious allegations that were in existence. And to put it mildly, he was overwhelmed. He thought this was very, very, very serious, and really it was beyond him. So he suggested that we should also brief the Chief of Staff of Government, Maud Sise. So we sought an appointment I sought an appointment with him, and I went with the PS to him. And when all the complaints were laid down in front of him, he also was basically shocked to hear all that. And he was even wondering how he should tell the head of state, the president, because he would maybe wonder why nothing has been done about it to that date. But anyway, what he suggested immediately was those who were suspected of being involved in those malpractices should be sent home. And then an audit exercise be started immediately to shed light on this very serious
The Chief of Staff suggested that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But then in all fairness, I thought that I would also brief the Honorable Minister of Health, since he was head of the ministry, and he was instrumental in getting those guys in those positions, especially the CMD and Deputy CMD. So I sought an appointment with him. Then I went with the admin director, Mr. Ndong, and the postgraduate training coordinator. So he summoned all his senior staff at the ministry. The PAMSEC was there, deputy PAMSEC director, deputy director, and several heads of units. So I gave them a rundown of all these allegations from A to Z. And of course, to me it seems as if they were really surprised to hear all this. And I informed them that we were of the idea that those who are suspected of being part and parcel of these possible crimes, because they were not yet proven, but they were serious allegations,
at the time.
they should be sent on admin leave, and then an audit exercise be commenced by external audit, and then the outcome would determine what way to go. But the Honorable Minister at the time was of the opinion that they should not be sent home because when the auditors come, they would need them, so they needed to be around and so forth and so forth, because they would need them for specific information and so forth. Which, okay, was fair enough, but as soon as the auditors came, this is external audit under Mr. Cisse Morrissey, they started digging into the issues, and they were finding one serious thing after the other. In fact, sometimes more than what we suspected, or the allegations that got brought forward, that were brought forward. So they decided that this team of 5 should be sent home immediately, in order not to tamper with the evidence. Or
So
otherwise.
now this suggestion or advice came from the auditors.
Yes.
At a time after they have started,
Yeah,
they realized that okay, these
they
people
were
needed to
digging
go.
serious things.
Yeah, they were finding
okay.
one serious thing after the other.
Okay.
So it was suggested that for them not to tamper with evidence.
And that's the right thing.
Yes, it would be prudent to send them home.
In any ways, I was wondering why Dr. Samate said they would be needed by the auditor, because in a well-structured environment, you send them home. If the auditors need them, they will be called for whatever they are needed for, but they need to stay off and away. They cannot be there. So I'm glad that the auditors at some point had to suggest that.
Yeah, because there was already evidence of tampering with the evidence on the ground.
Of course.
Like the finance director went, for example, to the stores and was trying to convince those working in the stores not to cooperate with the auditors and not to give them any specific information that they would need in their process and so forth. And these people, of course, reported this to me in my capacity as chairman and so forth. So this, to my mind, was totally unacceptable. And definitely, there was enough grounds to ask people who had the potential to tamper with evidence to stay away.
So what
in
happened?
all fairness to everybody.
What happened when the auditors made that suggestion for them to?
Well, we had to comply. The hospital had to comply. So they were immediately given their letters.
So what prompted you guys to go and visit the chief of staff instead of the minister who is heading the
no, at the time, it was suggested, you know, the health sector has 2 arms. The political arm, you know, the minister's appointment is political. That's the political arm headed by the minister, although they have administrative duties. But then you have the strictly admin arm under the permanent secretary. These are civil servants, and politicians come and go, they find them there. So the PS is directly answerable to the chief of staff and not really to the minister. But for issues that border on political sort of things, he would have to liaise with the minister. Also on certain administrative issues. And the minister is the link between the ministry and the presidency, or the president for that matter, because the minister is appointed by the president. But the PS is appointed by the Public Service Commission. He is strictly a civil servant. So there are these two arms. So we informed one arm, and then we decided it was fair enough to inform the other arm, even if the minister's arm was represented in the board of the EFSTH in the person of the Director of Health Services.
Okay.
So he's supposed to be part and parcel of all the deliberations of the board, and then report back to his minister.
And that's Dr. Bitey.
That's Dr. Bitey.
Okay.
So what happened? Were the auditors able to complete their work?
Yeah, I mean, initially we thought it would just take a month or two, but as they dig into the matters, it just sort of exploded to a very large volume. So what was supposed to take a month or so dragged on until now. The audit report came out on Monday. So it has taken several months, which means that they found a lot in the system,
Okay.
which they had to look into.
So you mentioned a lot. You said malpractices that were happening in the hospital. What are these malpractices that you are aware of?
There were many. For example, the frequent requests for interest, and sometimes involving large sums. And then you have senior management going to source the item that need to be brought. They actually go and enter deals with the suppliers. They bring the items to their offices, and the payment of the suppliers also go through them. Mark you, these people are not procurement officers. They are leaders, they are managers, and they are de facto approving authority. But once a request has gone through a contract committee, and they've gone through a bidding process, as you know, in the civil service, you need to have competitive bidding, and there's some three bids, and the most responsive is usually selected. And once that is selected by the contracts committee, it goes to the deputy CMD and CMD for them to approve, append their signatures. But then the actual procurement itself should be done by procurement officers. That's why you have them.
Yes.
There's a procurement unit. So once that is decided, it should go to the procurement office. And they should go and source the things that are needed. And then at the end of the day, they bring them back to the contract committee, and by extension, the CMD and deputy. And then once everything is approved, the suppliers should supply in the proper manner, not to any individual in his office. It should go directly to the stores with accompanying relevant document, parking lists, receipts, price list and everything. And those in the stores should account for these things and store them. And then the respective units can requisite for items directly from the store. It should not be that an individual, just because you are in senior management, you go and make your deal, and then you go and buy directly, and you put it in your store, and you distribute it, at your own free will, anyhow you like, without things being accounted for, Then also in the process of...
So, but in such situation, the hospital still pays for it?
Yes, the
Okay.
hospital does all the payment.
Okay.
They use hospital money to buy
Okay.
everything. So you don't know even if the prices were right.
The quantities.
The quantities, underhand deals, commission payment, and what have you.
Yeah, it didn't go through the right
No,
procedure.
they didn't follow right procurement procedure.
So, I mean, how and when did the board became aware of such? Because I
Well, it
believe
came a bit late, but I have
Yeah, he has already explained
Yeah,
that.
he's
how it
explained that.
happened.
So now he's explaining.
through the admin director
yeah.
who let launch complaints to me in my capacity as chairman.
Okay.
And then eventually, we forced him to write down the initial complaints. We were just 12 major complaints initially.
Okay.
But when the things started surfacing, there were complaints from virtually all departments. And then it sort of skyrocketed.
Yeah, so you were explaining
major
about
companies.
of course, the malpractices, the alleged malpractices at the hospital.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you
not
said,
finished.
yes, you
okay.
mentioned flighting, of course, these regulations of procurement regulations. So, and do you have any order?
Yeah, we also have an instance where the deputy CMD would claim that he would go abroad to buy things for the hospital, primarily in Ghana where he studied. And then we don't even know if things go through the proper bidding process. At any rate, you cannot single source it. You have to invite bids from different sources, and they should be vetted, and the most responsive selected. For single sourcing, you need permission from GPPA. The hospital has to write to GPPA and tell them, we want to single source this item, and they should forward valid reasons for that. And if the GPPA approves, then they can single source. But we had these instances where single source was just determined by management. And then to add insult to injury, the deputy CMD would go to Ghana and buy these things, and then give them a bank account to pay the money to that account, and then it was discovered it was his personal account.
In Ghana?
Yeah, instead of the supplier's the supplier's account.
Who discovered it was the auditors?
No, they started reporting each other.
Oh, okay.
In fact, this revelation was made by the CMD, that they were supposed to buy some theater lamps and theater bed in Ghana. His deputy sourced it on his own and then gave them a bank account to pay to, purporting it was that of the supplier, when actually it was his own personal account. That's grossly incorrect. You cannot do that. So,
but the accountant must know that, because when you are to pay,
have.
yes,
The accountant, because the name and number should match.
The name and number should match.
Yeah.
Basically, if it was his name in the bank's account, I mean, they know that that's a completely fraud, because you cannot say that you are paying this money to the supplier when you are giving your own personal.
I don't know how he managed to. He had also
maybe he was studying. Maybe he was studying in Ghana. I'm not saying that's it. Maybe he was studying in Ghana, and he has an account in Ghana, or maybe a business account in Ghana. Maybe
like
that was. Maybe he is giving the business name and the account, probably. But I believe
I don't know the full details, but I expected that the auditors would look into all this and
that will be
clarify
highlighted,
all the details. But I know that the money was paid to that particular account, which actually was not a supplier's account, it was his, And then the CMD, in terms of local purchases, he would go to when they needed drugs, for example, go to local pharmacies. And strangely enough, many of them, Middle Eastern owners, just like him, he would go and make arrangements with them. He would take and impress, they supply to him, and he pays them. And he solely accounts for them in his office and distributes them, which is totally against the rules. You cannot do that. And then, to add insult to injuries, when these supplies came from Ghana, the lamps came according to the receipts that the store showed us. But the bed, the theater bed, which was the most expensive item, never came. And this involved thousands of dollars. Never came. Then there was this issue of renovating the imaging facility, especially X-ray unit, because for the hospital to qualify as a postgraduate training center, there is need for the facility to reach certain standard, including X-ray and so forth. So then it was decided that the whole X-ray unit would be renovated, and then by extension they did also some rural X-ray units, because Residents would also be posted out to rural areas during the course of their training. And one Syrian guy, one Mohammed, who's supposed to be a biomedical technician, was given the contract. And he hails from the same country as the CMD. And I know they are very close.
Doctor, it's
Syrians.
like he's supposed to be.
You know, and when the discussion started heating up, the CMD himself informed me as chairman in the presence of the postgraduate coordinator, because I always try to have witnesses when these things are being said, so that it's not only from me, others would be there too. He said that the Syrian biomedical technician informed him that Dr. Jan has requested basically a bribe of $25,000 for him to be given the renovation project, you know. And I told him, how come you knew that and you never mentioned it and you didn't do anything about it? The guy just couldn't come up with any reasonable explanation. Then there was also the issue of replacing or repairing the UPS for the CT scanner in the hospital. You know, it got broken, and it was supposed to be bought in Senegal. And there again, I don't know why it was single source, because there are many sources of this type of UPS, but this is a very expensive item in the hundreds of thousands. And then again, Dr. Jan was tasked to go to Dakar alone and negotiate with the so-called supplier there. And eventually they brought a UPS which was supposed to be fully functional, but when it was installed, it didn't work.
But it was paid for.
It was paid for, yeah, indeed.
You know the amount?
I don't know the exact amount, but it was a large sum.
So like, you know, it goes to a level that the procurement is not responsible for purchasing stuffs for the, instead it was the management.
For smaller procurement,
yeah,
they involved the procurement.
Yeah, but anything.
But there also, there was serious inflation of prices.
With those small procurements.
Yeah, we got a price from management, from senior management, with a list of items including kitchen equipment like cookers and freezers and what have you, a lot of things. But through, and also cleaning items, but through the senior procurement officer. And mark you, there was no senior procurement officer post budgeted. You know, this post they created for this lady for some reason.
Okay. So that was not even in the...
It was not in the budget. But I know they had some conflict with the then procurement manager. So they took this lady from, I think at the time she was in the stores also, and then created this post for her and then put her there. And we are sort of informed that she has relationship higher up. But anyway, what happened is she brought a long list of items, and the prices were just out of this world. They were incredible. Things were priced 2x, 3 times the normal amount. Like a cooker, maybe you can buy locally for 30, 40,000. They would easily put like 80,000 or something like that. And they would claim it's American model. When in actual fact, what was bought was not from America, was bought here locally in the local stores. Things like that. So this long list, which we de facto got from the admin director, revealed serious inflation of prices. And this went through the system and they bought it. And they put them in the store there, again not properly accounted for. And then after some time, the items were just disappearing without involvement of the head of the store. A lady who's there, who's known to be very strict, very competent and so forth, but she was more or less sidelined. They bring a younger guy and put him there as their guy, and they were basically dealing with him, even though he was junior to the head of the store.
But why would the hospital need a cooker?
Well, they have kitchen and things like that, but I think maybe with the new postgraduate training program, they were trying to improve certain facilities at ward level, which is fair enough.
Well, obviously, they need cookers. Because
yeah,
sometimes they cook for...
even in wards,
they
have a
do
kitchen.
cook, they do cook for some of the
but
patients.
they do certain
they do,
you warm,
they do serve them
you
food,
make coffee, you
warm
warm food and all whatnot. So we don't even have any qualms with the items that were bought. The only thing is the prices were so ridiculous. Like, for example, a broom or something that you can buy for $150, $200 in the stores here. We all know prices locally. They would easily put $700, $800, $900 per item. So they would inflate it like 3-4 times what it should cost. And this went through management, and they condoned it for reasons best known to them. I'm sure the procurement officer was not doing it in isolation. She must have connived it.
So you mean,
her bosses.
the one who is doing some of these things are their own, appointed procurement officer?
Yes, senior procurement.
Yes. So, but the rightful procurement officer, which is
he was there before, was small. He was still there, but he was sidelined.
The sideline, but at least some of the things he was buying, at least the price was somehow reasonable.
Yes.
Right? Somehow.
Yeah, but that particular list I'm mentioning now involved a lot of items, and virtually everything was grossly inflated.
But what I'm saying is the procurement officer who is appointed by the hospital, rightfully.
Yes.
I mean, that guy was not found wanting of...
He was not involved in that program.
He was not.
He was
okay.
sidelined.
So this one, the one they brought, was the one doing some of these things. So you think maybe, all those things, the senior management were not trying to use, because the procurement officer there, is doing inflation, so this is why we're taking the bull by the horn and do some of this thing by ourselves. Do you think...
there's no evidence at that, but what I would think happened is there was connivance.
But it's evident because that's a junior procurement. That's a junior procurement officer. And he just bring receipts or whatever.
No, they use it senior. They don't use it.
But what I'm saying is he couldn't have done it by himself, like I said, because at his level, he needs approval of the management. And management looked at it, approved it, and made payments.
Yeah. No, normally they have a contract committee.
Yes.
And the contract committee, whatever they need to buy, they need to sit with the contract committee.
But this particular thing, the contract committee,
was sidelined
they
also.
rejected. No, they rejected the invoice. But they still went ahead and purchased.
Without approval
when
of the
this
contract
was
committee.
raised with the finance director, he said, yes, these things are in the stores, but they are not paid for. And then he went there and said, yes, some of the things are still there, blah, blah. So when we talked to the head of the stores, the real head of the stores, she said they just come and put them there, and they were removing them willy-nilly, at their own free will, without really involving her in the process, even though she's the overall head of the stores. And only God knows where these items ended. And I mean, they were of the belief that some didn't stay in the hospital there. They were taken elsewhere.
Personal use.
Yes, for personal use. So there were many of these irregularities. And also there was a time, there was this serious shortage of gloves and other consumable items. Again, the deputy CMD said he was going to Ghana to buy them. And when the items came, they were not accounted for. He was just dumped them in a truck, and they came and just put them in the store without involving the store management, so to speak. And then
so
they
he
started...
travels. So he travels himself to Ghana?
Yes, he used to travel a lot. There was also this, what shall I say, they were trying to modernize the lab. So they were going to buy a series of laboratory equipment funded by the World Bank. And the CMD, for some reason, was selected to go and negotiate with the suppliers in Senegal. And, he's not a lab guy. He's done his basic training in lab. There are people in the lab who are experts in laboratory science, in the equipment and everything.
Equipment, sir.
Including the head of the lab. But they were not directly involved. He went and did many, many trips to Senegal. Even these trips to Ghana, if you tabulate them, there were many, involving air tickets and per diem, to a very, very high amount, close to $1 million each.
So those were approved by the contract committee.
No, well, he was given.
By contracts committee fees.
I don't think
this is management.
This is
having powers.
management.
Exactly.
Just
But normally,
delegated
you know why I ask this? Normally, I mean, some of these recommendations need to come from the contract committee because these are things that they have to go and buy.
We all know
Under
normally.
normal circumstances.
In normal
Normally.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Normally.
So
But
this is
we are
why
not
I
talking
ask.
about normality.
Yeah, so this is why I asked whether this is something, because they are the top management now.
Even the procurement officer?
Yeah.
Sideline. Yellow function procurement officer from a store.
No, I think this senior management, the most senior,
they were
just decided
they were senior.
you go and
yes,
negotiate.
they were senior and they were doing according.
So the minister was one CMD.
Yes.
Okay. So when
he was made CMD the same time I was made chairman.
Yes.
The second time.
So this is what this is why I'm asking this.
Yes.
Because I remember, when he was the CMD at that time, there was a procurement of some of these lab, materials from from India, and so the CMD, it was part of the he's also part of the contract committee.
Yes.
Yeah. So the way that process went, I understand. I mean, there are a lot of corruptions in that hospital.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just finish this last issue. So the amount involved was extremely high. It was like over $3 million.
Yes.
That's no small money. And Dr. Jan was gallivanting between here
American dollars.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Dakar
Yes.
to negotiate and buy these things. And why him alone and why single sourcing, nobody can explain. At the end of the day, the equipment were procured, and when they came, they were not exactly up to standards. And prior to this procurement, the former CMD, Dr. Nyan, was trying to buy equipment for the lab from EFSTH. EFSTH is a well-known lab equipment company all over the world. They are among the best. So he identified the equipment, was negotiating with EFSTH to buy directly because he was trying to avoid the middleman. But EFSTH directed him to their representative in Senegal because they thought since they had a regional representative, he should go through them. But he was quite obstinate. He continued and continued. And in the end, EFSTH yielded, okay, and said, for now, this time, we can sell directly to EFSTH. And then the whole thing was sort of processed, and the money was available, about, I think, $27 million was allocated for that. All they needed was clearance from GPPA for single sourcing. As the rules say, you should write to GPPA. And then when they contacted GPPA, they thought it was, the need was genuine. And on those grounds, they were ready to give, clearance for single sourcing. But unfortunately, at the material time, that's when Dr. Nyan was removed quickly and unceremoniously from his position, and then replaced by Al-Jafari, the Syrian guy. So the file, according to Dr. Nyan, was handed over to Dr. Jan to process. He went to GPPA, and GPPA said, no problem, this has been processed to this level. All that you need is approval for you to do single sourcing. But for some reason, the deputy CMD didn't action that. The file was put aside. And then this World Bank thing came to finance the equipment for the lab. And he jumped over to that. So these purchases were never made. But then what happened to the 77 million? Until I left, there was no clear explanation what they did with that money. We spoke to the CMD, and he said, well, we used it for other things. But what things?
And the money was approved
yes,
by the finance?
Yeah, it was approved.
No, at least you are able to mention what thing you use it for.
And normally, any procurement at this kind of level should come to the board for approval.
Yes.
This is even beyond contraction
Yes.
because it
Yes.
involves so much money.
Yes.
$27 million.
Dollars. That's a lot of money. You know, so then this is just, I'm just picking here and there.
Yeah, that's about 1.5 million.
Yeah, to dollars divided by, let's say by 7.
You know how many $1 million procurement is happening at RBTH?
So there are lots of issues, you know, even in the scope of this program. I don't think we can go through everything, but I'm just giving you a gist of it.
Go ahead.
I'll
give you more time to review all this.
We give you all the time.
The patients with multi-drug resistant TB, you know, they are hospitalized, and their hospital stay is long. So normally they need some kind of support in the form of food items and so forth. So through the Global Fund, it was decided at the level of the central medical stores that money should be allocated for the procurement of these food items for those patients. I think it was in the tune of $27,000, $30,000 also. It came to the hospital, into the accounts, but then the deputy CMD said that these 6 patients involved, they had died. So the CMD had requested for the money to be taken to him. So he physically took the money from the accounts with the understanding that he was taking it to the CMD. But when the CMD was confronted, he said he knew nothing about that money. No money came to them. You know, so that
$27,000.
But you know, in Gambian terms, it's money.
It's
and
money.
It was
Yeah,
supposed to be money for patients' food and other items.
And he said those patients died.
Yeah, well, that's what he claimed, that there was no need for the money. The patients have died.
No.
He was instructed by CMD to take the money
Yes,
to him.
sir.
But it never reached the CMD. The CMD
Yes,
said he was not even aware.
So it was his word against.
So, and these monies are given to them by cash or by check or what?
It was in an account they withdrew.
Transferred to the account from the Global Fund.
Yeah, to whose account?
So
From the
the
global
hospital.
to hospital's
hospital
account.
account.
So to the hospital's account. So now, who are the signatories to this hospital account?
Well, it's basic. It depends. It's the director of finance, of course, and the CMD. They are the main
The CMD or the
and
deputy
in the
CMD?
absence of the CMD.
The deputy CMD.
The deputy
can say.
CMD.
So like 3 of them
Yeah.
are the signatories now.
Yes.
So when you people ask, and the CMD said that he did not know nothing about
Well,
that.
Going back to what I said, somehow the finance director released the money to the deputy CMD, who purported that he was taking the money to the CMD because the CMD requested it. But when CMD was confronted, he said he saw no money, he had no idea about the money.
Hey.
So it just disappeared.
Our money.
In thin air. Our money, yeah, our money.
Interesting.
So there are many irregularities. And coming to the lab equipment, we know a senior technician at the lab, technologist actually, highly qualified, very experienced. Incidentally, he knew the suppliers in Senegal who were supposed to supply this substandard equipment. We came to the country, they were distributed, but they are not working anywhere. The reagents were not available, and they're just lying there as, what shall I say, useless toys. Anyway, I suggested to him, can you please contact this company in Senegal? Pretend as if we are buying the same set of items and see what they would say and what price they're going to give. He thought it was a good idea. He did that, and after a couple of days, he brought to me a video recording when these guys contacted him through WhatsApp, informing him that, yes, we know you very well, we can supply through you, but then, you know, when it comes to the price, we don't give any price to the end user. You decide what price you want and how much we're going to put for you, and so forth and so forth.
The contact in Senegal.
Yeah, and he brought that recording to me, showing that there was obvious evidence of high possibility of corruption here. You are buying from me on behalf of the hospital, but you dictate the price. And you also dictate how much we should add to you and things like that. You know, so, and this $3 million worth of equipment was bought that way. So, and the prices that were quoted were significantly different from the prices that were actually paid according to their arrangement. You know. So, so many things like that. And I mean, what shall I say?
So he accused you of nepotism also.
Nepotism how? In what sense?
Did you in any way try to employ someone who you are close to at the hospital?
Okay, I can
Try
set
to
light on
employ.
that.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a daughter. I have two daughters actually. One of them is a senior specialist in America, a Harvard and Yale graduate in New York.
Oh, wow.
In one of America's two best cancer treatment centers. And she's a summa cum laude. That's the highest honors you can get in American Union. And Harvard and Yale are the top, the best. The younger sister went and studied public health at the Georgia State University. But after her bachelor's with honors, she decided to take a break, come to Gambia, gain some experience before going back. Initially, she was working at my hospital, but she thought, I mean, the volume of patients, she's primarily interested in health statistics, was a bit small, and she was not getting the engagement or exposure that she needed.
Yeah.
She asked me, can I apply for a job at EFSTH? I told her, yes, you are a Gambian citizen, you are well trained, you are as entitled as anybody else to apply. But even though I'm chairman, I'm not going to be involved in the application process. So she wrote, and they invited her to an interview, and those who interviewed her fully aware that I didn't try to sort of persuade or influence any decision they were going to make. So in the end, and Dr. Jang, I think, was chairing that committee at the time. In the end, they offered her a job of basically a records clerk. They had a vacancy of senior records officer, which she thought with her degree, with honors in medical statistics and so forth, she could be entitled to that. But for some reason, they decided to give her a position of records clerk. She complained to me, they said, this position is well below my training. And besides, the salary they are offering me, if I drive my car back and forth every day, the transport cost alone would be more than the salary offered. But I told her, look, if they give you anything, if you think you need it to develop your experience, you can take it. So after all that, she decided that she would give it a try. But she went there, they took her to the records office. She said she just went and she was dumped in a room, not introduced to anybody. But she was completely surprised that in the entire records office, there was not a single computer or laptop. And you know how people are trained now in the modern world. You work with computers and laptops, especially when you handle large volumes of information and so forth. And you know, there was no proper introduction, and there was no sort of guidance as to what she needed to do.
And tools to work with.
Yeah, tools to work with. So she came and said to me, Dad, and as much as I want to take a job like this and develop my experience, I cannot work in that environment. Because first and foremost, the way I'm trained to work is not possible there. I work with computers and laptops. But if there is not a single computer, I thought she was joking because I had never been to the record store. So I went there to look for myself. I saw she was very right. They had all these files dirty, dusty files in cabinets, but not a single computer or laptop. I told her, you are right, and the choice is yours. If you want to stay, it's up to you. If you want to leave, you leave. So she decided she couldn't take that job because she wouldn't be able to deliver.
So when was this? Which year?
Last year.
That was last year?
Yeah, last year.
So that's why a lot of people also say you were angry because your daughter was not given that.
Kind of nonsense.
So that was the reason why you granted that interview. Is that true?
No, because I can employ my daughter and pay her, which I did more than what government is paying her. So a job is not an issue, you know. It's only that she was interested to handle large volumes of health information, because that's what she was trained to do. And she asked me if she could apply. I told her, yeah, you are a citizen like anybody else, and you are adequately trained, you can apply. And in all fairness, just because she's my daughter and I'm the chairman of the board, so therefore she cannot work at EFSTH. That to me is inconceivable. She has the right like anybody else to apply. And they handle the whole employment process, including interview. Nobody can say I tried to influence them in one way or the other. I didn't participate in anything. And they made their decision. And if I was involved, I wouldn't have asked them to give her a better position. Not a records clerk, which is really for high school leavers. Not somebody with a university degree in one of the good universities in America with honors. You give her, you know, it's... But she had the right to take or leave it, and she left it. So why would I be angry for that? I can keep her at home and pay her more than what EFSTH was paying her.
So you think...
You know, it's just total nonsense.
So the payment for a senior record clerk at the time in the hospital,
yes,
and the amount you were paying your daughter when she was working for you.
I was paying her more than double what they offered her.
Okay.
But she said she needed the experience. I told her, it's your choice, you can go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to what happened at the hospital,
Yes.
when I
Then another thing they mentioned,
okay.
they said, you know, when we started the postgraduate training program, I, Professor Nyan and Professor Yankuba Kasama, the three of us initiated the program. Although funded by World Bank, but World Bank didn't have the capacity to recruit and interview the incoming professors. Nobody there at the procurement unit of the health ministry had that kind of level of capacity. Subsequently also contract negotiations, we had to. So I was tasked with Professor Kasama, Dr. Nyan, and some members of management to interview the incoming professors, because at least we were at par with them or even higher. There's no professor who has come here who has higher or better training or experience than some of us. So we led the interview process in the selection. And that means I had to go to Banjul almost every other day using my vehicle. And I have a big American V8 engine vehicle. Anybody can guess how much fuel that consumes. So they allocated 10,000. And we also had a steering committee concerning the postgraduate training that met regularly and frequently to steer the course, because it's a new program, and to steer the course of the program properly. So I was in Banjul maybe more than in my own hospital. So they allocated $10,000 fuel coupons per month, which any senior government officer would have, or even more if you look at what they have. But I tell you, my $10,000, I would consume that in the form of coupon in less than 2 weeks. That means I was paying out of my pocket for the other 2 weeks of the month. But for some reason, without consultation, Dr. Jan and his boss, the CMD, just decided they will cancel the coupons for the postgraduate program. The coordinator was very vexed about it, and so on. I said, don't worry. We are doing this for God and country. Everybody knows I was not paid a salary. I was not paid any special allowance for all this job I was doing for them. All they gave was a fuel coupon. You know. So I told them, look, we are not doing this for the money. We are doing it for God and country. We must remember Gambia is one of the first signatories of establishing a postgraduate medical training college for the sub-region. That is the West African College of Physicians and Surgeons. That was way back in 1997. As we speak now, all the countries in the sub-region, they have a postgraduate college, including Liberia and Sierra Leone that were totally devastated by the civil war. Gambia is the only country without a postgraduate training college yet. We have a program, but we don't have a college. We have managed to identify the land, half of Ndeban was seated to the program. There was a land adjacent to it belonging to EFSTH, which was meant for staff residents, but it was never used. So the Ministry of Health ceded it to the program. So the two were put together. But even to fence it, we have tried and tried and tried. It was not fenced. Until recently, before I left, we were informed that the part of the land was already allocated to another ministry. So we had to do the footwork to the Minister of Local Government and Land to retrieve that land and give it back to the program. And they initiated the process. I don't know if it's completed now. So it's a big shame that Gambia, being one of the first 3 signatories of establishing a postgraduate medical college in the sub-region, we are the only one without one as yet, you know. And we've, you know, for that to be established, you need an act of parliament, which we took the trouble of developing. We had a draft, we had a committee with legal input and everything until we finalized the draft. And it was cleared by Attorney General's chambers. But it's been in the hands of the ministry almost a year, not action. That act they should have just prepared a cabinet paper, take it to cabinet, and once it's approved by cabinet, it goes to the National Assembly for it to be ratified. And once the act is ratified, that means it just goes to the president to append his signature. And then we could effectively start the college. Mark, you know funds have been allocated for establishing the college, but we were hoping that with the act in our hands, we should be able to mobilize
resource mobilization.
Yeah, both locally and internationally.
Yeah.
But it sort of, I don't say died, but it was choked at the ministry level.
So who is responsible for the nomination of CMC?
Appointment.
CMD.
Yeah, a CMD, no. Appointment, I believe that is the PMO, or Public Service
Okay,
Commission. I'm talking about the nomination.
You know,
I mean, who identifies?
Yeah, no,
What do you mean?
you understand what I'm saying, yes.
Well, for appointment of CMD, the Hospital Act says that it's the president of the country who does that. But after consultation with the board and the chairman of the Public Service Commission, so when Prof. Nyan was being appointed as CMD, I was then chair. I was invited to the vice president's office, head of the civil service. The minister was invited. The chairman of Public Service Commission, who was the father of the current minister, was there. We looked through everything, and in the end, we agreed that Dr. Nyan should be appointed. But this Syrian, when he was appointed, there was no consultation with the board. They just got up one day and said he's been appointed. He didn't go through normal procedure. That interview never took place. And what we learned from the office of the chief of staff is the current minister went to them and said he's looked in the entire Gambian fraternity, and this man was supposed to be the most qualified he could find, a foreigner for that matter, and then he recommended him make CMD. They just picked him and put him there. And after he came, a Gambian was deputy CMD, Dr. Roberts, head of surgery at the time.
Roberts, yeah.
A specialist. But when Al-Jafari took over, he complained that he could not work with Dr. Roberts. He's slow.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
He wouldn't deliver, blah, blah, blah. Then he said he wanted Dr. Jai. Later on, we found that Dr. Jai, he was sort of pushed to take Dr. Jai from the ministry. Then I told him, look, we don't appoint deputy CMD like that. This is a thing that the board should decide.
Yes.
CMD is appointed by the president,
Okay.
but deputy is the board.
Okay.
You have to take this matter to the board. We deliberate on it. If the board feels that he is the one qualified or he is the one that can work with you, the board can make that decision. So he brought the case to the board and was trying to make a case that, yeah, if he would not be able to work with Dr. Roberts, blah, blah. He wanted Dr. Jan, who's by far junior. Dr. Jan was not even a fully fledged specialist at the time. He did membership. You know, to be specialist, first you do, after a basic training, you do a residency program of about 4 or 5 years. Then you pass the Part 1 exam, you get your membership. Then to be a fellow, you have to do another 3 or 4 years because you have to do a research and write a dissertation and all whatnot. Dr. Jan stopped at the membership level. Even though we were trying to push him for long to go and complete, he never did. But somehow, they removed somebody who was already a fellow of the College of Surgeons, Dr. Roberts, and just put him there because the CMD was pushing vehemently for this. And I think he was being directed from the ministry. So that's how they made him.
But the matter came to the board, and you people are the...
No, but the board, when matters come, it's not a one-man's decision. It's subject to discussion, and then we put it to the vote.
Vote, yes.
Unfortunately, the majority thought, okay, we'll try to satisfy the CMD's position because he made the point that he would be totally handicapped if he continued with robots. It's only Jan he could work. You remember Jan was in Deban and was head of the COVID intervention and so forth and so on.
What was your stand at the board? What was your stand about
Well, you see, I don't want to be dictatorial and I don't want to be dogmatic. Even though I'm chairman of the board, if the majority of members think and vote for a certain decision, I had to abide by it. I was not very happy with it, but the majority...
Just respect it.
Yeah, I had to respect it. So that's how he was given this position.
So where is Robert now?
And he's still there in surgery as a senior consultant. But what shall I say? The act actually, the hospital act, which I was part and parcel of writing during my first tenure as chairman, together with the then CMD, Dr. Esambiro, it clearly states the qualifications to be CMD and deputy CMD. For CMD, you have to have a postgraduate qualification with a minimum of like 12 years experience. And the deputy, postgraduate, minimum 10 years. But if you look at it very closely, Dr. Jan did not have fellowship. He just had membership. If you apply that provision of the Act strictly, he wouldn't have been satisfied. He wouldn't have been qualified to take that position. But this was something, I think, that was cooked up by the ministry even before he came.
Now, talking about the ministry,
Yes.
in one of your interviews, you mentioned that when you started working for the hospital, the minister was in primary school.
Yes.
Now, angrily, you said they are trying to politicize this, and this is not politics.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, I came back as a specialist from Europe in 1982. The minister was then, I think, maybe 5, 6 years old or something like that. So he was still in primary school. And Dr. Jan was like 3 years old. He hadn't even started school.
Yeah, you mentioned that in that interview, during that interview.
So, I mean, I have this very long track record in the health system, occupying what I say, the very senior position, both academically and professionally. And then, you know, for these people, because of their political positions, or position they've been given without due process, and they start throwing their weight on people and things like that. What I meant by politicization is when we raise this issue of malpractices in the hospital, which we had clearly briefed the minister about, and also the peers, and also all the way to the chief of staff. They had a rally somewhere in Kiang also, and he was saying that one of these past, one of our senior doctors, he is sabotaging the government. He has come up with a lot of allegations which are unfounded, unproven, and something like that. So, and I had that verbatim. So I said, look, if it has reached this, I am going to resign. So I was just waiting for the next board meeting, but as if they wrote my mind. They read my mind, they hurried up and wrote a letter of termination of my chairmanship, which also is not correct. The board chairman is appointed by the president of the country, just like the minister. It's only the president who can decide that the poll chairman be removed. And I got no letter directly from president's office.
To date?
To date. It's a flimsy letter they wrote from the ministry and brought it to the hospital.
From the Ministry of Health?
Yeah, and said, and really, they do not have the authority to appoint or dismiss a chairman. A chairman is an appointee of the president of this country. But for some reason, the presidency is aware of it. They didn't do anything about it. And I thought I didn't need it so badly that I had to pursue it, so I just left it. Because really, I was volunteering my time, my energy, my know-how, my experience, just to help the system.
Yeah.
The hospital and the entire health system to develop and grow. But if they wanted to handle it that way, I would graciously withdraw from it, and that's what I did. I told them at that board meeting, you know, for me, it's over with EFSTH. There's no amount of convincing or money that can bring me back to this rotten system. And I told them clearly in that board meeting.
Are they trying to bring you back?
I don't know. They haven't spoken to me, and I haven't spoken to them. In fact, I was out of the country for some time now. So.
Well, yeah, I
But
understand.
I'm not interested.
So let me just clarify something.
Yeah.
You were appointed as board chair, and you got a letter, like
From the president.
from the president appointing you.
Yes.
Now, with all these revelations and issues and allegations, you know, you just sit and then you receive a letter from the ministry saying that you have been terminated
Yes.
as board chair.
Yes. Actually, I saw, after we met the chief of staff, I sought audience with the president. I told him that I would personally face the president and tell him what we have discovered in the hospital. Expose to him all the allegations of corruption and mismanagement. And he was going to try to arrange for me to meet him, but it never happened. I was never allowed audience. So I think maybe if that's the case,
So
the presidency maybe is not interested.
that's the sad part, because for me, it's concerning. Well, in the Gambia, nothing surprises me. It only happens here. That the president can appoint and a ministry, because I don't know I don't know who signed the letter, but it's from the ministry.
It was signed, I think, by the acting director at the time, at that level.
Acting director of...
After the...
Medical service.
You know, when they send these guys on admin leave, the director of health service was transferred to the hospital to be director. So his deputy was de facto acting, and he's still acting.
That is Bite.
No,
Bite was
transferred. Then
to the hospital.
Yes.
Nyasi was acting. I think if I remember, Nyasi was the one.
So can you imagine?
At that level.
At that level.
I am maybe 40, 50 years senior to Nyasi and Bite. I taught Bite and Jan and all this in medical school. I was their teacher.
Exactly.
Taught them part of what they know about me.
But
then it's an insult to me.
Disrespect.
And total disrespect for somebody at that level to write a termination letter.
And that's the point I wanted to drive to.
And the ministry is aware of it. The minister, the PS.
No, it's the minister
everybody is aware of it.
Obviously.
And not a finger was raised. And I think this is the height of disrespect. And under those circumstances, there was no way I was going to continue to stay in the system.
Now they were
To
investigating.
the detriment of the country.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Harald, that's the point I really wanted to drive at. Knowing, you know, his level of expertise, his experience, and everything else, right? I'm not even delving into all these allegations or whatever, but none of them had the mandate or authority to appoint the board chair.
Yes.
It's the president, and that's the highest office of the land. So anything the president does, it has to take the president to take off, or a competent court of law, right? Can override president's decisions in somehow, not even completely total. We all know
if
that.
it's warranted legally.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If it's warranted legally. But then for the president to appoint, and then you take Anyasi to write a letter to that chairman and say, you have been terminated. And the minister said nothing, the permanent secretary said nothing, the office of the president said nothing. Yeah, I'm sure Nyashi was directed. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So none of them said anything else. And of course, this is not like a secret or an undercover thing that happened. And I can tell you that the president is aware of it. And because the president said nothing, I want to believe that he was also approved in approval of everything that was happening. He endorsed it because I don't think ne yep nañ ko yeb bo xamne mu appoint nit ñom because of am nañ fracas at that person ñu write a letter to terminate that position.
So but I just want to ask something. It depends also, you know, sometimes when the president is writing to you, some letters the president will sign, for example, and some letters they will say directed by.
Yeah, but in that case, the person immediately answerable to the president
would write.
is either the chief of staff or the secretary general.
So your letter,
yes,
yes. So that's what I'm saying. Your letter, the letter they gave you when they were appointing you as the board chair, it was
from the president.
It was from the presidency. Okay, it might be the secretary general or the chief of staff. But I believe that time the chief of staff was not there. The chief of staff was not there. So your letter was signed by the secretary general. That because normally whatever is coming from the president. I can revisit the letter. So if it is the secretary general, I believe when they are removing you also, the secretary general should write to you that I am directed by.
That's what he said. Ministers and things
with
like
all
that.
due respect, that's what one would expect.
Yes.
In any civilized society, this is what they would have.
Because the appointment, your appointment or removal is lies in the hands of the president. So if they want to remove you, I believe the president or the secretary general should write to you and inform you that the president, as directed by the president, said you have to leave this.
And I was the thing that annoyed me most. They didn't give any real valid reason.
Why removing you? Why removing you? Yes.
I don't know. It would be. It's not to the benefit of the hospital or the ministry. Those that kind of vague thing. That's what they gave us.
I think I saw the letter
they
somewhere.
were not very specific about if there was any wrongdoing or anything that I
when they are removing the ministers.
Exactly.
Like when they are removing
but just something vague in the interest of the ministry and the hospital. Or something.
It's really sad. It's really
ridiculous
sad.
And they were saying nepotism. Okay.
What nepotism? What's the definition?
I just want to say they were accusing you of nepotism. But now, okay, let's say now
it was
the service commission. No. If it is nepotism, the father of the minister, when they were appointing. When they were putting as a CMC, the father was the chairman of the PSC. So now we will say now.
No,
This is very clear. Anyway, it was Dr. Janyo accused him of nepotism.
There's a saying in nepotism.
And I believe his father was sitting there when they were appointing him.
A drowning man would cling to a straw. They know they were cornered. They were more than anybody fully aware of their wrongdoings. And they knew it will catch up with them. So they were just beating about the bush, trying to pick small things here and there to put it together, to sort of counterattack. It is understandable. It's human nature. But it is so totally ridiculous.
That was a very cheap excuse.
Has no basis whatsoever. That, it's a laughing stock.
Imagine the minister who went to the National Assembly and said there is corruption in his ministry. Now he's becoming...
When corruption is unearthed,
it's allegedly...
Your hospital, the main tertiary referral center of this country, where all of us go to when we are seriously ill, and where all health facilities in the country refer to, serious malpractices, corruption, and mismanagement is being unearthed.
The doctor is allegedly consumed.
And then you, as head of the ministry, by extension, the whole Gambia government, they don't lift a finger. They don't do anything about it. To a point where the culprits would gang up and try to victimize those who expose them, which they, in fact, de facto, they cannot do, but they tried. And all these flimsy allegations of nepotism. you know, I just brushed it aside because to me it is so
You don't want to give it relevance.
totally ridiculous. I don't want to give it any relevance.
So now, after when you were sacked, there was an investigation. They said they're going to investigate.
Yes.
I understand that the report is out.
It's out.
Today, I didn't see it. I have tried several times. I couldn't access it. Do you know the content of that report?
No, I haven't seen it yet. In fact, I requested to see it because, well, I am the head of this whole process because I started it based on what was reported to me.
So right.
So, and I was part of the investigation process. I was the first witness they called, and I told them everything. We went through the entire allegations, one after the other, and I clarified what was meant. So I would have thought at the end of the day, in all fairness, I should be able to see at least what the conclusion.
The outcome, yeah.
But they're telling me that no, they don't. It's not given to individuals. It's only given to institutions and ministries. And from there, it will go to the National Assembly. And when it has passed that stage, then it becomes public property. Then it can be released.
That's
so
wrong.
That will come later. But you know, an audit report, was done on behalf of the people, the country. You know, and I think the country primarily owns it. So in the earliest possible time, the content should be released for everybody to know, especially contentious issues like this. But it's still not done. But, you know, it's a small country. We know each other. And people have informed me that I am fully vindicated. Every allegation that was brought through me has been proven, and even more than that.
Then that report will never be out.
Well, we'll see. They even discovered much more than we suspected or what was reported to us. I understand it's extremely damning to a point where the auditors have recommended that the file be taken to the Inspector General of Police
For prosecution.
For possible prosecution. And then that means the findings are very grave, very serious. And also to the Medical and Dental Council for possible disciplinary measures against the doctors who are involved. And you know, the Code of Ethics, Conduct and Ethics, which I wrote, is very explicit. First and foremost, a doctor should not be involved in criminal activities. It's totally against the ethics of
Zero
the
tolerance for that.
Secondly, if a doctor is aware that a colleague is committing crime, he is duty-bound to expose it. But it should not be tinted in malice. There should be no malice, like you have a problem with a colleague and you really... But if there is a wrongdoing, especially a criminal act, any doctor who's aware of it should expose it. But we have hypocrisy within the profession. The Dr. Sallah should not have exposed his colleagues, blah, 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 blah. You know, they should have discussed it internally. These things are beyond internal discussion.
Definitely.
Criminal acts, they should be handled as criminal acts.
That's correct.
That's why the Attorney General's Chambers is represented in the board. They have a representative. And the representative is very adamant that these allegations are so serious, it may not just be limited to an audit exercise, but maybe even a commission of inquiry, because the allegations were that grave. And now they have been proven to be reality, you know. So we'll just wait and see what steps would be taken. Because the problem with this country, they're good at investigation. You look at all these commissions we've had. Look at the ongoing commission with the area council. But action.
Never.
At the end of the day, when then
No action.
serious findings are found and recommendations are made, they are not implemented.
They will
And
only
if
be,
people know that
In
they
fact, let's
can
see
do
whether
things
your
with
report will be
impunity.
out.
no, they will only be implemented if, for example, you know, if the allegation
If direct towards an enemy.
Yes.
A perceived
An enemy.
Perceived enemy.
Perceived
Yeah, I
enemy.
understand, yes.
in that way, it's going to be implemented.
Yes.
But if not, it will never be implemented.
You know, is that the way we expect to develop our country?
So that's why I say this report will never be out, because you have indicated.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
No, not we will see.
No, because this
It will
thing,
never happen.
on the other hand, this matter is so widely known now, both nationally and internationally.
But they don't care.
And people are listening and watching what would happen. You know, if we want to maintain a civilized country that wants to develop, you know, we should not take these things lightly. If there are serious allegations and they've been proven, people responsible should face the music. Otherwise, you create a culture of impunity. Everybody thinks that they can do whatever they want, especially in the civil service, and nothing will come out of it. That's the word out there. They
will only take them to court.
Dr. Sallah,
They will only take them to court. For example, if the sponsors, let's say, if World Bank said, if these people are not exposed or taken to court,
we will stop our funding.
Yes.
That's what happened in the Ministry of Health.
Yeah, about the global fund. Yes, because they said we will not give money until
exactly. So the PS and the head of HEP.
So we pray that 3 million World Bank thing. World Bank will say no. We want to.
Anyway, that's why they're in court.
I'll get back to Dr. Sallah. And as I'm talking to you, there is they have halted operations at the hospital there for 3 days now because they have water shortage. We got this information.
Shortage of everything.
Yes, there's shortage of water. Honestly.
Everything.
We got the information today, and I was able to find out before coming on this program. You know, I called Dr. Bite, but Dr. Bite was not available. But I was able to talk to the deputy PRO, and he confirmed, yes, there is water shortage. So according to the patients there, they are told that they have stopped all surgeries right now because there is no water. So I don't know what will happen to them. It's for 3 days now, since Monday, Tuesday, and today, Wednesday.
Water is the most primary resource.
They are using the fire service now to pump water.
You have to maintain good hygiene.
As of today.
That means nurses, doctors, wherever they are.
Really?
Today,
as of today?
Yes, as of today.
And things like that. All utensils need to be washed properly and sterilized as necessary and so forth and so on. So can you imagine a hospital, the main tertiary referral center in this country? I keep on repeating that. That's a higher level of medical care in this country. They go for 3 days without water. And we just have to accept that as if nothing happened.
We normalize everything.
Not only water, but drugs. I know of examples. I have a younger brother, my youngest brother was involved in a road traffic accident before I traveled to Europe. He ended up at the intensive care unit. He was put on a ventilator. But virtually all the drugs he needed, they didn't have.
So you have to go outside and buy.
Either bring them from my hospital or go outside and buy. You know, within 1 week, I easily spent over 30,000. Then I wondered, well, poor people who suffer the same condition, who are admitted there and have no means to buy this drug, what would happen to them?
They die.
I confronted the nurses. He said, doctor, you haven't seen anything. We had a case of diabetes, a diabetic coma. That is hypoglycemic coma. That's very, very low blood sugar. Who just needed an ampoule of sugar, 50% dextrose, to survive. And it was not available. The family was given a prescription to go and buy. They kept on running around. By the time they got it and came back, the person had died. For an ampoule of sugar. The other one was somebody with an allergic reaction to a drug. You need adrenaline and maybe some cortisone to stop it. It was not available. They're the same. That you have to act immediately. There is no issue, but no waiting, no waste of time. They didn't have it. The prescription was given. The same. The family went out to buy it. By the time they came, the person, of course, had gone to the Lord. You know, things like the things that are unthinkable in modern day medicine. Basic drugs or, you know, other materials are not available. People keep on improvising until they've exhausted their imagination. You know, it's that development. Look, Gambia is almost 60 years post-independent. We got our independence in 65. Next year will be 60 years. And we are still at this level. You know, I had the good fortune of traveling in the entire sub-region, participating in international activities, especially through the West African Health Organization and WHO and so forth. I've been to all these countries. There were countries that were far behind us in the past. If you go there today, there is no comparison.
That's right.
They are well over and above us.
Because
so
we keep
wonder,
telling the president everything is okay.
As a people, what are we doing?
So how are you going to rate
How?
our health system, the health system in the Gambia, if you are to rate it?
Very poor. Very inadequate. That's what I would say.
Compared to other countries.
Even compared to sub-regional countries. Very, very inadequate.
So we might be at the lawyers.
We might?
We might be at the lawyers.
Possibly. Just like in industry, Gambia is at the rock bottom
All right.
in terms of industrialization in Africa.
Then
Do
what
you
is
know
your
that?
reaction?
At the rock bottom. Even Guinea-Bissau is above us.
And
Wow.
Guinea-Bissau is
Really?
developing. now.
Yes.
Their capital is
If you
very
look at the
beautiful now. They have a
industrialization
very nice
index
capital.
list, Gambia is the very last. There was a time we had small industries here, like the NPEs, like the
No, but the
Citro
president said they are
production.
building. The president said they are building. You know,
Have you seen it?
big
Building
hospitals,
what?
big hospitals, new hospitals.
Well,
Last time I heard him, he said if
Well, they are building one in Farado.
I know, they say it's
the
going to be,
Farado.
what, a 1,500 bed
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
he
teaching
said.
hospital.
Yeah, he said.
If you cannot maintain this one, this small one, about 600 beds or whatever, how do you think you are going to maintain that? And also, specialist care should not only be limited in the greater Banjul area. There are people out there who are suffering the same ailments. At least in every region, there should be a general hospital where good primary service can be given in the major specialties, especially internal medicine, pediatrics, general surgery, and OBGYN. And the very, very difficult cases, those are the ones you should transfer to Banjul. But is there any such coverage? No. And let me remind you, almost 60 years after independence, we still cannot achieve that. Now, very, very bad cases from up-country, they are all referred to Banjul. Several hours ride, and sometimes the ambulances are not properly equipped. The staff who are there managing them, they are not properly trained. And by the time the patients get here to Banjul, some of them have acquired other maladies that they didn't have initially. And some of them literally die on the way.
Sometimes
Or
the
when
ferry
they
is not
arrive,
working.
they are either dead, dying, or extremely ill. So that's why the mortality rate is so high, both for children, especially children and women, with complications of delivery and things like that. A lot of them die on the way, or when they come, they are so bad they cannot be saved. And we are talking about a lot of unnecessary expenses in my mind. Look at this massive expenditure they've done on these vehicles that were bought for this conference, for two-day conference, hosting some of the richest countries in the world. They take a debt. And these are debts. Mind you, Gambia, the debt is spiraling. I understand we have a debt burden of 110 billion.
Yes.
It was only about 40 billion when they took over from the army. 110. And it's still mounting. And these are monies we're going to pay. It's not a gift. We are all going to pay through our taxes. But let's face it, Gambia with this tiny, tiny private sector, you think you can squeeze that kind of money from the private sector in the form of revenue collection? You will choke it to death. The country will be totally paralyzed. You know, unless they waive the debts. But I cannot see in the foreseeable future that we can comfortably pay those debts. And this fuels inflation. That's why everything is so expensive. A country that hardly produces anything, we import almost everything that we eat. Our agriculture is nothing to write home about. Fishery is predominantly run by foreigners and so forth. They talk about small infrastructure, road here, bridge there, and so on.
We kickbacks.
Yeah, and these things, they think we should be thankful to government for that.
No.
But government has a responsibility. The reason why we put you there is for you to work for us and deliver. We as the people, we are the principal. You are our agent. So it's a principal-agent relationship. If we put you there and you don't deliver, we have the unqualified right to remove you. And then why should we thank you for the job that you're supposed to do? And even at that, not fully satisfactory. You know, it's like, as someone put it, you thank the ATM machine for giving you your own money. It just does not make sense. And it's about, I'm not in any party, I'm not in politics.
This is about country.
This is about country. It's about us, the people. So we should not shy away from telling truth to authority, to power.
Authority, yeah.
To power. And I think every Gambian must have that in their mind. We cannot sit idly by and see things being broken, destroyed. Because Gambia at one time, at the time of going to independence, we used to have one of the best civil services in the whole of Africa, I tell you. They used to post people here from East Africa and other places in the sub-region to come and understudy our civil service here. But look at what we have today.
But why World Bank and other donors are giving money?
Yes, so
I mean all the time.
I will.
They cannot ostracize them.
Mr. Salah.
No, this loan givers.
Mr. Salah.
I just want to ask this thing. Why these loan givers?
I will get back to you. I will get back to you.
You cannot tell me why the grant givers, you say loan giver.
Exactly.
Loan giver is a business.
I
give it to you no matter how long it takes. You're going to pay me with interest. Exactly. So that's a business.
Just let me come. Of course, they will have to pay that. You will definitely pay that. So let's talk about
They have their wars everywhere.
I will get back to you, Dr. Salah, in a moment. Yes. I will engage my people a little bit and get back to you. Yes. Nene, what is your reaction? Lamo is a reaction about the hospital thing. Revealed a lot of things. You have the allegations. Report began na. Gisanguñ ko why alleged na a lot of things you have mu ngi xew fofu non and also with the minister and the president trying to promote gis ko why mënu ko gis mom gene nañ ko fofu non but still now we've seen these problems you have ñu ngi continue si hospital. What is your reaction to all of these things? Or you don't know where to start from today?
She's overwhelmed.
My reaction is I was trying to really keep quiet and just internalize and not say anything else.
No, you have to
I was
say
in
something.
the point of breaking down, and I did not want to do that. But honestly, the feeling that you have right now, it's like you just want to shout and pull your hair.
Frustration.
You just want to shout and pull your hair. Nekkut ne dafa ees, you know. Amu dara luñ fi wolo xamne lu ees la luñ ne bullet la. Why now again you feel asking yourself, when is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? And again, we've been talking about corruption.
I'll answer that. I'll tell you when it's going to stop.
Okay. All right.
You know what?
No, after you answer that.
I'll get back to you.
You know, but then now, man pour man, the painful part is we're talking about the healthcare system. When we hear these slogans of health is wealth, and if that is anything to go by, it's true, then lack of health is poverty. And dekabo hamne, it's consumed by poverty. What's happened? A typical what we see in this country. A dog-eat-dog kind of a system. Right? And ñun ñep am nañ suñ experiences with the healthcare system, the hospital, whether it's the Ndemban, whether it's the Banjul, whether it's the Farafenye, whether it's the Soma, it's all the same system. But again, the reason why I felt like a little bit emotional now from a medical doctor tell you, okay, a preventable condition, right? And it just takes you to administer something. It's not available. Gadem worry jiko with so much hustle, with so much hustle, and especially when you lay your hands on the medication, that feeling of rushing to get there because you want to save a loved one.
A life,
You want to save a life. Imagine halis mida am nga ko amuloko. Why lijante ko lay your hands on the medication just for you to get there and be confronted with, oh sorry, your loved one is no more. Can we just imagine that feeling of anybody that is confronted with that at that moment? Now, we are not in a situation where we don't have the competence or the people who can do the job and do it right and save lives. But then we take people, like we are mentioning, put them in position, and what they do is just grab for themselves. Imagine at that $27,000, $30,000 for food, for people who you don't even know they will die, because those people are in the verge of dying. It's just a matter of survival to keep them day by day, keep them day by day. Food for them to eat, and somebody will grab that money and eat it. And not only eat it and keep quiet, but you sit there and claim that all of them have died just because they're not your mother, they're not your sister, they're not your father, they are not your relative. It's some vulnerable people's family who are lying there. Wickedness to the core. And gis nga dëkk boo xam ne dafa ñi bon ñoo fa bari ñu soxor ñoo fa bari dëkk bi du dem. and nañ ko waxte dee loolu moo fi nekka loo ubbi sa gémmiñ nga wax rek ñu ne politics this is beyond politics.
Definitely.
This is beyond politics and it can affect anybody and everybody. ñoom moomu noonu seen famille suñ demee obviously dañ dee mën a lokkati garab bu ñu leen defarele dañ dee mën a bàyyi seen soxla si ñu stay over time and everything else to take care of those people.
They'll assign private doctors.
You know what I mean? They will do that. Give them specific rooms, private rooms. boo xam ne man ak yow duñ ko am.
The country. So,
Yes.
At high cost.
Like the ministers.
Yes.
Man ak yow mënuñoo am loolu te man ak yow suñ xaalis moo leen di sustain moo leen di lii. Now we're talking about
They are our
$27 million and nobody can tell you where that money is gone. Oh boy,
As
if
a
that
chairman, I can tell you I don't know what happened.
exactly. So if you don't know, how is anybody supposed to know?
No.
Because we should be asking you the question, and you tell us, oh, the money was spent here, and we have this amount of money remaining, or we exhausted the money. But you can pinpoint where the money went. But you are telling us you don't know where the money went. Of course, the CMD doesn't know. Nobody is able to tell you where the money went. And now we're waiting on auditors, investigative report. That is, if they will even ever find where the money has gone. And also, if the report will ever find its way in our hands for us to know where that money is gone.
That is the
oh,
problem.
well, if that money was there, maybe the hospital will not be sitting 3 days without water. And you cancel all services because there is no water. Doctors cannot work. Patients cannot be administered with services and care. And then somebody sits there and say, Gambia is the most peaceful country. Or Gambia, our economy is growing. Or Gambia, we are good. Or Gambia, we are this. Oh, spare me that.
Deluding ourselves.
Spare me that.
It's a reaction.
I honestly, I am speaking with so much anger. Honestly,
Yeah, I
with so
understand.
much anger.
It's very sad though. Very sad.
Gambia is a very sad comment.
No,
Very sad.
It's sad. But it's we just have sad people,
Nene.
wicked people, callous.
Nene, I
But
understand.
we are the worst enemies of ourselves.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
I
I agree.
as you mentioned, there's this dog-eat-dog business.
Yes.
There is sentimentalism, lack of objectivity, and this serious rat race. Everybody wants to become rich overnight.
Yeah, overnight.
And endless competition.
But there's
He
no
has this, I
accountability.
got to have it. And look, if you want to be rich, you cannot be a civil servant.
At all.
No.
In anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You can be comfortable by virtue of what you are earning and the tax services that you are getting. But to be rich, you have to get out and rough it out in the private sector. Whatever you have is your luck. You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be successful, you can fail. But to be a civil servant,
And you are rich.
administer matters of government, and you think you can enrich yourself,
You must steal.
you must be, it turns you to a criminal.
Yeah, you must steal.
Yes.
Thank you,
You
sir.
are always,
That is
Yeah, so
doing corrupt stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor. Abaraka Wake, Doctor, I mean, Akoliada Wake, Ajala Buba, when you spoke on the last time, Ndol banko dungulu, we the citizens, ndol fon la problem. Because you see, Bibi Lala, ni Minister Sasada, Beka Gijan. Minister Sasada, just 1 week or just 3 days, Rebakolo, Dakar, Babatara, India, Pakistan. But Nde Sasada Jam, and Mu Sasala Ben Jam. I have to maybe be a hospital, or maybe I go to a private hospital here. And give from maybe a loan net. Right? So, but minister or maybe a director or so ever, or maybe the son of the president, or maybe the mother of the president, or the mother of the minister, any of those people need Sasada. They are not using our health facilities. Many of them, they will not use our health facilities because I believe they believe that, this hospital doesn't have the equipment because they don't provide the equipment for these hospitals. And they will never provide equipment for this hospital because when they are sick, when their mothers are sick, when their sons or wives are sick, they will not go to this hospital. This is why they don't care about this hospital. Because the system member,
But who is employing them? Who is paying them? We, the citizens.
no, but this is what I'm saying. We are the ones
It's our
paying them.
tax dollars,
Yes.
our tax money,
Yes.
which is paying their emoluments
Yes.
and everything else that goes with it.
No,
So
even
they are primarily there to serve us
to serve
as a
us.
people.
Yes, but they are not serving
They
us
don't care.
and we'll be there clapping for them. You know problem with They are not
Why?
serving.
Why are we clapping?
Yeah, because
That's a
we don't
good
know our
point.
rights.
Exactly. Ignorance.
Ignorance. This is the problem. So, and anytime you want to educate people, you the one who want to educate them. For example, they will look at you as an enemy. For example, today...
They'll turn you to a villain.
Yes. For example, what is happening at RBTH? Some people will look at him as an enemy to all of them.
Yeah, the minister said it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fighting my...
And the president was seated there, right? At
Yes,
the time.
yes,
At that time.
yes.
The president was there.
Sabotaging
So this is the problem. And now, when
I think sa gis nga loolu noonu sa pour moom sa moom at his level yow imagine you have said it when you finished and came and took up role at the hospital, right? He was in primary school. Maybe he never even knew he was ever going to be a doctor, right?
I have contributed over 40 years.
Exactly.
In the
So
health services delivery
you
system
are
of
not
this
in
country.
competition with none of them.
No.
With none of them. Because they will live until they die. They will never gather the experience and the expertise that you have gathered at this point in time. So why on earth would you have any interest to fight any one of them?
You know, minimum focus there. I mean, this Barrow government, they have no interest. Interest about, developing the health status of this country. Look at Dr. Samate. Dr. Samate, when he was appointed as a minister, many people say, oh, maybe the health sector will be okay because he was working. Yes, he's a doctor, he was working there, he have experience there. So, but I can tell you for free, today, if you engage many of these health workers today, they will tell you it's the worst minister ever in history.
He had good intentions.
Listen.
He was doing well at the hospital. He had good intentions.
But it's corrupted
he got consumed.
Yes,
Because remember when he started, he stood at the assembly.
Yes.
Politically corrupted.
That is
He
what I'm
stood at the assembly because he was against what was happening.
And
those things are still happening and he's condoning it.
Yeah, but he's consumed.
He said it.
Yes, but now, because look at it right now, who are his close friends now? In fact, it's part of the most powerful ministers in that cabinet today. It's part of the most powerful cabinet. And look at all these allegations. And I'm telling you, the truth to be told, believe in me, all these things, I can stand here or I can sit here and say, all what was happening, the minister was aware of it. I can tell you. Because the minister is the minister. I know some of those people there. These are people who that they are given position through the influence of the minister. I can say that clearly. Because the minister was there with them, he worked with them, he knows their characters, and he still give them position, and he still maintain them.
Let me tell you one thing. What Gambians need to realize is some of us were highly trained in highly developed countries to the highest possible level. I was a consultant pediatrician in Sweden, the first black. And I went to their best medical school, one of the top 6 in the whole world. It's a university, Karolinska Institute, you can check it, that offers the Nobel Prize in medicine. That's the highest award in medicine that any medical scientist is dying to get. Salary-wise, what I was being paid as a consultant, just my basic salary was more than what the president of this country was receiving at the time, Sadauda. So it's not money that brought us here. It's primarily the honor of serving our country and people. I could have stayed there as my other colleagues and have everything you can think of. But it never crossed my mind that I want to train in Europe and stay there and serve the white people. My people needed me more. So I came here with virtually nothing in the pediatric wing. I mobilized funds, materials, and even staff from Sweden to come and help us develop the pediatric unit. And I've been really contributing in my own small way, even the postgraduate training program. Pediatrics, when they were trying to get it accredited. At the 11th hour, we realized there were some basic things. If they were not in place, the accreditors will never give us full access. There were screens. They didn't have any screens. Weighing scales for babies in the emergency or the neonatal unit, and so forth, so forth. I had to take money out of my pocket. I donated them all these items. Prior to that, I had donated to maternity. They mentioned in their arguments that I was trying to do business with them. They are lying. Because when I donated these items, they realized that what I gave them was far superior to what they ever had. So they were after me to sort of sell some of them. I told them, no, I have a hospital. This I bought primarily for our own use. They insisted, and one day they made it an emergency. We need screens desperately because the accreditors are coming, blah, blah, So you must sell us some of it. I told them, look, I told you I was not going to sell it, but since they insisted, I told them I'll check what I had. I checked in my store. I had luckily about 51. I didn't even know I had that many. They say, we want it all. We want it. I told them, then what about my institution? We are not going to have any left. So I told them, at least 5, because we don't have open wards like you. We have small rooms. You know, we don't need screens the way you do it. But I can at least maintain 5 for us. They took 46 of my high-quality screens. Until I'm speaking to you, they haven't paid one butut for any one of them. And I gave them less than what it cost me to bring it here. You know, the system is so bad.
Why would they say you did business when they haven't paid for it?
And that business I didn't even solicit. They came and asked me. Similarly, when the ambulance was down on Deban, you know, the A&E is in Deban. Now they have to ferry patients back and forth for imaging and other things at the EFSTH. There was a weekend, no ambulance was available. They appealed to me to use my ambulance. I told Al-Jafari that, you know, this is primarily for our own use, because I don't want it to be overused, and then when it breaks down, we have a problem. But he appealed, and I told him, okay, you can have it over the weekend. I gave it to them on a Friday, fueled it completely, and paid the driver for the weekend, because he doesn't work weekends. So any work he does in the weekend, I paid him. They used it up to Monday, and he was brought back. And they promised that they would refurbish me. They will refund me for the expenses in court. Until now, one butut. And these people have the audacity to say that I am trying to do business with them. What when I went out of my way to assist them, that's how bad they can be. That's how silly they can be, and how unfair they can be. Ungrateful. You know, it's.
But you should go and take your money.
System.
That's your money. You've given them the items. You should go and take your money.
No, but I leave it to them. I leave it to their conscience.
Okay.
If they feel they're going to pay it, fine. If they don't, it doesn't make or spoil me. Not in any way. I can even dash them more than that.
I know.
You know, but you know, a gentleman's agreement is a gentleman's
That is right.
agreement.
Yes.
They should honor it. But that's how silly and how bad they can be, to a point where they don't really care. They don't really care. And it is sometimes, you know, if you are used to decency, honesty, and integrity, you know, these things are inconceivable.
All right. Dr. Aramud, okay.
Can behave this way.
Yeah. Aramud Daniel,
So just,
we don't have much time,
I mean, Doctor Abe for Janne.
Abe for
Doctor Abe for Janne. I was saying, I took a Gambia Dingul Bulu say. You never caring. These are some of the things happening in our hospital. Doesn't, I mean, so I don't tell the sign for we still want to remain in this kind of system or left a Kabunian system or canal. Because it can you hospital mill for, it can you clinical mill for Baroka a law. I mean, you did Bungola, I call it maybe not a story building all. At the end of the story building, Mang Sira Hokeje, Mang Malara Hokeje. I mean, do I be large? Because even hospital should have bagasul men.
You know, I said to Nene, I was going to answer her what we are going to do.
Okay.
In a situation like this, you need somebody. It's an issue of leadership, not only at the presidency, but at all levels. You need people with iron fists who would dismantle everything and start all over again. And anybody who misbehaves, you will face the music. You set the very clear rules, and everybody must abide by it. No ifs and buts. Not that this one is related to me, this was in the same party, or we come from the same town or village, or we played together in school or whatever. Those are no considerations. They are given a job, they have a responsibility, the rules and regulations are there, they abide by it, and then you will see the country move. Look at countries like Rwanda. We all remember the genocide about less than 20 years ago. Rwanda was totally destroyed. It was written off. They killed almost like 1 million of their souls. Today, it's the showpiece of Africa. Look at it. The other day, I was watching a program about Botswana. They were showing where Gaborone is, their capital city. They got their independence in '66, 1 year after us. Gaborone area was just bush. Nothing, absolutely. Go there today. Gaborone is like almost like a city in a developed country. You know, so it's attitude. It's good leadership.
Yeah.
It's organization. You know, and people who put country above self. You know, if you have these people who are just primarily bent on enriching themselves, using resources that belong to all of us, we will never get anywhere. And that's precisely what's happening in this country.
1 minute, Bio.
1 minute again, yeah, Doctor. I mean, whenever
He's
I start, you
interested.
always say it's
His
interesting.
interventions
Yeah,
are very
no,
interesting.
No,
that
no,
I-
no, no. I mean, yeah, like I mean for the, like, let's say, I mean, you know, just this last week, you know, I mean, I came from this place, Korea. Like what you're saying. I mean, if you ask,
I had already announced that you went to
Yeah,
Korea, so
yeah,
you don't have
no,
to mention
we
it again.
have announced that.
We've already said it.
You know, but let me tell you
That's how
one
you
thing.
know.
Korea,
yeah,
South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, these countries, they have done so well for themselves. Remember, we got our independence same year as Singapore, in 65. Singapore is a city country with no mineral or natural.
no mineral. That was Korea.
And they have ethnic strife just like us, different Malays, Chinese, and so on. A lot of criminality at the time. Nothing. But they had a very good leader, Lee Kuan Yew. Who
Had a
was-
vision.
Had a
With a
vision,
vision.
very disciplined, and no-nonsense man. He transformed Singapore. Now Singapore is a fully developed country. And really, one of the leaders in education, they say that is the fourth best developed educational system. Can you imagine? And so, next, and Singapore got their independence from Malaysia. Next door, Malaysia, you have similar problems when they got their independence. But they had their Mahathir Mohamad. Mahathir, a very wise, visionary leader. He organized Malaysia to a point. You go there today. If you go to Kuala Lumpur, you think you are in New York. Two highly organized society. No, you know, they still have some problems like any country, but you cannot compare them with any African country. Vietnam, in our lifetime, during the 60s, America bombed almost everywhere in Vietnam, just like the Israelis are doing in Gaza. It was totally destroyed. Go to Vietnam today. Vietnam is one of the fastest developing countries in Asia. They are next to China now in manufacturing and things like that. You know, there again, they had their Ho Chi Minh, who was a very good visionary leader. Now to bring it closer to home, as I mentioned,
Senegal.
Rwanda. Look at Senegal next door. Senegal got their independence in early 60s, I think 61 or something like that. They had the same problems as we have, although the French left a better infrastructure than the British. The British were just using their colonies as trading posts. They never really invested. The French were more assimilated, maybe. They gave them better infrastructure and so forth. But generally, they were facing these very similar problems. But you go to Senegal, there's a vast contrast compared to Gambia. There are no ifs and buts about it. No matter how badly some people hate them here, they say a lot about the Senegalese. But okay, they have their corruption and their problems. But you can see a lot of tangible
Developments in their
You
country.
know,
That's
that's what we are saying. There's no country without problems. But the good should be more than the bad.
It has to do with good
Yeah,
leadership.
you have to have, but Korea. Korea was devastated by the Korean War in the 50s.
Yes.
That's when they came with the division of. You've been to Korea. Look at South Korea today. It's one of the industrial giants in the world.
Yes.
Especially in the area of electronics, shipbuilding, and all these things.
AI and all
Technology.
Oh, no.
Not even America can beat them
No.
in those areas.
Yes.
You know, so look
That
at,
is right.
you
So,
know, look
Dr.
at
Awala-
China with Mao Zedong. China was a rural, agrarian country in the 50s. In our lifetime, look at China. China is the second strongest economy in the world, and maybe even the strongest. The Americans don't want to admit it, because,
They don't want to-
but
Yeah.
America owes China trillions of dollars now. So it's attitude and the will to
Leadership. It's all about leadership,
and,
yeah.
and you know, yeah. But the leader should be able to mobilize the resources that the country has.
But you cannot.
Human resources first, and also other necessary resources. Because as a leader, you might not be competent in any area other than yours. You might not even be competent in any area.
But you
But
must
you
have
have the sense, the vision,
Yeah.
but also have the sense to mobilize good people
To be around you.
To be around you, who would handle matters and advise you. All these so-called effective leaders in the world, like Obama, Clinton, and others, even they have good teams
around them.
Yeah, and you have to select very carefully.
Not necessarily them, but the people around them.
And at the end of the day, when the country develops and moves, who gets the credit? The leader. When actually people have done the job for him.
Right.
You know, but if you are sensible, that's what you do. You mobilize, you know, especially Gambia. We know the specifically knowledgeable people in the country. And Gambians are good.
Yeah.
You know, internationally, we perform very, very, very well. In the UN system, Gambians had a lot of divisions and institutions, and normally they are the head. I met somebody who, they had a UN conference in Joburg once, Johannesburg, and virtually all the presenters were Gambians who were heading their respective divisions in the UN. He told me that you're a small country, how can you produce people of this caliber? I told him, yeah, they are recognized and respected overseas, but come to Gambia and see them. Nobody cares about them. Yeah. They retire and come and sit here and rot. Yeah. You know. We don't even want to take good care of the resources that we have, whether it's human, material, or technical, or whatever.
Yeah, when you live out there and come here, they dismantle you, shred you into pieces.
Yes.
You know, the goodness in you
are the worst enemies of ourselves.
So, final, Dr. Lloyd Tagwe, because time is here.
No, okay. Thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed the discussion. As you can see, we can go on with this
over and
on 24 hours. We will not exhaust it. I know. But hopefully, sooner or later, the report will come. Yeah. And we will all know the full contents of it. And I think that will be another discussion.
Yes, definitely.
Because
then
this should not be a one-time thing.
We'll be speaking
we are talking about our country, which we collectively own.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier, this is not politics.
Yeah, this is not politics.
This is about our survival as a nation and as a people. You know. So this kind of dialogue should continue. Yeah. And hopefully, people will get more and more enlightened. Yeah, so they know they will know their rights, but also their responsibilities.
Yes.
And unless until Gambians reach that kind of level, we can talk until the cows come home. Nothing substantial will happen here, other than these small interventions here and there. That
doesn't do any change.
You need a rapid and a collective movement. Holistic, not only that.
Piecemeals.
Piecemeal. It won't take us anywhere. And okay, I know I have treaded on a lot of toes, especially among your listeners, but if I offend anybody, I apologize. But these things are very dear to my heart.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
These are national issues. Yeah. And, you know, we have reached a level, some of us, where really we cannot enjoy or have anything more than what we have already. It's about our offspring, the youth like you people, our sons and daughters and our grandkids. What are we going to bequeath to them as a people, you know? And that's why also the youth of this country must stand up and take their responsibility.
Yes.
Rather than just sitting around drinking attire, or they have nerves, they want to go back way to Europe and all that. That will not solve our problem. You should be engaged and make sure you demand your rights. I'm not advocating for violence or anything like that.
Yeah, but to demand your rights.
Demand your rights as a citizen.
Yes, as a citizen.
And make sure that your needs are being taken care of. Because, you know, sooner or later you will reach positions of responsibility where you may be, you're head of families and you are breadwinners and everything. And if you are not adequately prepared for that, may the Lord help you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Lidi rar na fi, you know, what difficulty being there are professionals like you from other fields to come and talk about the issues that are happening in the organizations they lead or where they're working or whatever. We have a culture of nobu, culture of soul, culture of dipper, culture of change.
I am all right,
You know, that's what we have.
All right,
some will only complain.
Exactly. So honestly, for us, it means a lot that apart from the interview that you did with, you know, freedom, you know, exactly, ken degatula. The other side, ken buguta wax.
Yeah.
Ko ci joxoj ñu la dédét dama xaar ñu ne ma noppé ngum joy ken buguta wax. Understand nga? Li tax na ñu baña wax ñom ñoo at the end of the day report bi génné na. I hope hope ne dinañ amaat beneen waxtaan ñu ñëwaat dissect report bi and speak to it. I'm looking forward to that.
And you can come with specific questions.
Exactly, specific questions. Exactly. Why?
The problem is nearly also, I mean, I understand that it took this time to come here and tell us all these problems now. But we will sit and listen to all these things at the end of it in next 1 week time.
They're forgotten.
We have done our own side.
Anyways, we have torop sa time, time bi gudda na waaye di la gën a jaajëfal on behalf of ñi laa déglu yëpp am sure ne dinañ kontaan parce que question si daf dee ñëw because ñu bari ñu ngi doon bëgg a am naka leeral ci issue bii nii waaye mënuñ koo am parce que ñi nga xam ne ñoo involve mënuñ leen a am pour ñu ñëw wax so di kontaan
just scratch the surface, Nene. There are lots of things which you cannot cover in the scope of this show.
Oh yes, yeah.
There are lots of things.
You will come back. I'll bring you back.
We will keep inviting you. I think sometimes
the report comes out. Jërëjëf continue li nga def sa way rafet na te ku bokkaayoo kontaan na ci yow. Jërëjëf.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much for coming. Ngatin to ka je baake ngatele sutunum bi ba fala baraka baake kana. But the other side fanang momo lafta kana bunda we lerine pour invite the other side kepo ko xamne you've watched this program and you want to respond in any way, of course the door is open for you. You can come and we're going to invite you. We'll give you the platform pour ñu déglu sa side of the story. Nga sponsor bi tenduke jay baake Care Finder 8G aning suñu kër mba fala ala baraka baake ka ñem programme fasa ka sembentu yandi bari mba fala mo be ko al kanan ñina ka subscribe na YouTube channel oto al subscribe ngalo ne modol bi jire wal kan ñina le but ni da ba jibe kan Facebook alta Care Fatou media type al fana subscribe na YouTube channel oto e ba jela wo ben doko ma ko ila baakele mbe duwala taliboy fana mi alon ko manna no nyim programme oto bi because amon kende abake mbadi mbe duwala ala ma sala jara kende
so no patitali ala badde patile duta
aga mom badde
ko patile duta te ba sekere bondila
mbe duwala ende pour ay no ay jara kende so ay muruna so for arjuma nala na technician Charles nala timo be mba fale ko ala baraka bake for arjuma nala bye bye.
Care Finder is a real estate company that focuses on property development within the Gambia. We pride ourselves with providing not just quality and durable houses, but also state-of-the-art designs tailored to our clients' tastes and expectations. Our unique experience and expertise is second to none in the industry. We are currently building and selling 3-bedroom bungalows at Sukuta Traffic Lights and Jabang. We're also building and selling 3-bedroom story buildings at Sukuta Paradise. Other sites are also in the pipeline. With CareFinder, payment options are available. With just 40% deposit, you can get your house started. For more information, contact us on 329-5188, 727-0049, 709-8418. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram at CareFinder. With CareFinder, you are assured of a secure investment.